President-elect Donald Trump has followed through with a campaign promise to pick Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to lead the Department of Health and Human Services and to let him go wild. Kennedy began leading Trump's Make America Healthy Again movement after ending his own presidential run as an independent. He's known for his polarizing stance on vaccines, falsely claiming that they can cause autism and other health issues. As head of HHS, Kennedy has pledged to make major changes at the agencies that he would oversee, including the CDC, the FDA, and the National Institutes of Health.
If you want a vaccine, or if you want to vaccinate your children, those vaccines will be available. But I am going to tell the truth to Americans. And the problem with the measles vaccine is that it's a leaky vaccine. It doesn't provide sterilizing immunity. 60% of our kids now have chronic disease. When my uncle was president, it was only 6%, and there's no other nation that has anything like that. Today, we have the worst health care. We have the most expensive. We pay 2 to 3 times what people pay in European countries.
Dr. Celine Gounder joins us here in the studio. She's a CBS News medical contributor and editor-at-large for public health at KFF Health News. So, Dr. Gounder, as a health professional, what is your reaction to this pick, and what do you make of his credentials?
Many of us are concerned that he doesn't have the medical, the scientific, or the public health credentials for this job. Now, that said, there have been lawyers, including the current HHS Secretary, Javier Becerra, who have held that position. What is critical in those situations is that it's somebody who knows that they don't know everything about health care, public health, science, and that they're willing to talk to experts to take their counsel and advice. And what is concerning is that RFK Jr. has been very vocal about not trusting scientific experts, technical experts in these spaces, and in fact has said he would like to get rid of civil service bureaucrats who have been lifelong experts working in these agencies, who are also the ones, by the way, who know how to actually get things done.
So these lifelong experts work at the Centers for Disease Control. They work at the Food and Drug Administration. They work at the National Institutes of Health. What are the implications if they're removed? Can they be removed? And how does that impact the health of Americans?
Well, this is part of what Trump has also been saying that he would like to do, is get rid of, quote, the deep state, much of which is these career bureaucrats, for lack of a better word, but really these civil servants who've dedicated their careers to working in the public's interest. Without that layer of people, without these kinds of scientific and technical experts, we could really find ourselves in trouble. So what are some of the specific issues RFK has been wanting to take on? For example, and I think this is one that many health professionals are actually in favor of, which is better regulating our food supply, in particular food additives, preservatives, ultra-processed foods. Mm-hmm. But you actually need to know how to navigate the science, how to navigate the law. And to get that done, you would really need to have Congress on board. Congress may have to grant some additional authorities, particularly given some of the decisions made by the Supreme Court in recent years, the major questions doctrine, for example. And without the right backup, scientific backup, it's going to be very difficult for him to get that done.
Let me talk to you about this. The CDC and World Health Organization said on Thursday the global measles cases surged by more than 20% last year. About 107,000 people, mostly young children, died from the disease. We just heard how Kennedy feels about the measles vaccine in particular. We also know that the measles vaccine is highly effective at preventing death from measles. So what kind of effect might Kennedy's advocacy, even though he says that people should be allowed to make their own decision about taking vaccines, what do you think the actual implications, the impact that will have on what is really for health professionals a concerning trend when we're talking about measles?
Well, a couple of things. One, he made a comment that the measles vaccine does not induce sterilizing immunity. That, in fact, is all the more reason you need the population immunity. Think of it as you're holding an umbrella by yourself in a storm versus you're in a crowd of people, all of them with overlapping umbrellas. You're going to be way drier in that crowd of umbrellas. And that's essentially what we try to do with the measles vaccine. Now, it's very concerning because the fact is most people do not have the expertise. Googling, by the way, is not doing research that is, in general, going to confirm any biases, emotions you might have had. Science is when you formulate a hypothesis, you experiment to test the hypothesis, you understand how to distinguish between causation and correlation. You understand that you have to repeat experiments time and again to make sure your result is not just a fluke, a statistical fluke, coincidence. That is science. What people do when they go on Google, that is not science. And that is not doing research. And so what's happening is people are confirming these emotional reactions. And I think that is what it will drive a lot of the decision making.
All right, Dr. Salim Gounder, thank you.